right. She's got the bone. She's boning over there. Right, buddy? You get your bone. You're so happy. All right, everybody. Hello. It's Houston After Dark. A little Friday. Houston with a problem. Monkey's embarrassed to be on camera chewing on her bone. Welcome. So tonight's plan is we're going to read through Roza's latest filing. She filed an amendment to her complaint for a lawsuit against FINRA regarding MMTLP and them shutting off trading and us losing 2 days of trading and the shorts never being forced to close. So buckle up, Buttercup, because that's what we're going to be piling on here. I love seeing the intro play, and they got this little bar that shows like sound coming through the microphone. It's just Monkey crunching and the sound bar moving as she crunches. Okay. All right. You guys ready? Well, I see you guys are chit-chatting and throwing questions in there. We'll read through this thing. There's a lot of stuff we can sort of skip because we don't really need to. It's just sort of laying out the stuff we already know. But we'll get to the new things that she threw in there. So it shouldn't take too long, even though it's like 97 pages. Oops. Okay. All right. Bam. Chrome it. Go there. There. All right. You guys ready? You ready? Hell yeah. Okay. So, there's a motion for leave to amend complaint. So she's moving for her. She's like saying, hey, court, all this new stuff is showing up. I need some permission to amend my complaint. That's right off the bat what she's saying. So in it, she posts the rules for amending such things, standard relief, blah, blah, blah. Okay. We get to the amendment itself. And the parties, relevant parties. So she's going to name off all the companies involved, FINRA, etc., their CEOs and brokers and legal counsel and all those things. She states who Next Bridge Hydrocarbon is, what Torchlight is. It's just all of our definitions. We can kind of pass by these things. Talking about how the Securities and Exchange Commission implemented Reg Show in 2005 to regulate short sales. So basically, we're going to end short selling, make it short selling. And they just created a giant loophole for them to sell naked. And she has to define all these terms for everybody. So we can keep going, talking about failures delivers, what they are, dividends, regulatory agencies, QSIP numbers, all these definitions, blah, 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 blah. So, and then she talks about the schools of thought on short selling, which is, the main thing is short selling should be able to exist because it's a way of keeping companies in check. If they're misbehaving and they're doing bad things, we should have the right to sort of use the market to go, no, don't do those things. But they get used to hurt us a lot more. Oh, I should post the link for this sucker so you can follow along at home. There you go. The link's in the chat. Get it. All right. Okay. So then she goes to the facts, talking about the merger and the combination and becoming a non-tradable share. And then in October, all of a sudden, it becomes traded by a bunch of freaks. And then she talks about the S1s and all the S1s that got filed. So file as S1s, blah, blah, blah. Going to take the company private. And then this is the new stuff. So the emails from the SEC, which were received in a Freedom of Information Act request, they talk about emails between SEC and FINRA people, which we got a hold of, and sort of what's happening with NextBridge in this thing. So the final prospectus was filed, and this was for, hey, we're going to make this company private. We're going to remove the shares from the DTC, and we're going to make them paper shares. So you guys have to close all your positions. And all the brokers went, oh, shit, we're going to make sure everyone closed their positions. And everyone knew they're going to have to close positions, because if you can't provide the shares, which stands as the dividend for the MMTLP shares, you must close your position. There's no way around it. You cannot avoid not closing that position because you didn't provide the dividend, and you're required to provide the dividend. Also, you can't hold a short position in a company that can't trade, especially a naked short position, because a naked short position requires you to be able to identify shares that are available to trade. And if the company's private and it's not in the exchanges, you cannot identify any shares that are available to trade. So, on or about December 5th, 2022, FINRA employee Sam Drady emailed that we are blue sheeting both MMT and MMTLP as we speak. See attached here too as Exhibit A. Therefore, requesting accounting, also known as a blue sheet, on MMTLP are available to satisfy plaintiff's request. So she's saying they're talking about the blue sheets, about who's short on what and how many shares exist. I want those. You need to give those to me because it pertains to this case and how I was injured. On or about December 6th, 2022, the defendant filed a data list event, attached here too as Exhibit B. So this is the data list they did on the 6th, and then they amended it on the 8th. They changed the canceled to deleted. And then that night on the 8th, or I guess early in the morning on the 9th, they issued the halt. Those some bitches. Oh, grr. Okay. And then talk about how many shares they say there should exist and how many they think exist. And sort of like the how the market makers and brokerages must recover borrowed shares and reconcile the short selling and failure to deliver positions, because we were on the thresholds list for 40-something days leading up to when they canceled it, which means naked shares were being sold, millions of them every day. And no one was closing positions. They were just rolling it all over. Tons of it was market makers doing GTX, doing the sales. Okay. So we're still kind of laying things out. She explains also that the placeholders provided from brokers vary because each broker handled it differently, and that they are not shares, nor are they Series A per shares attached to an asset of the company or dividend. So they're just placeholders. They're just like, we don't know what the fuck we have. We're going to put some placeholders here and hope everyone forgets about this. That's kind of where they all were. Months of failures to deliver due to saturation of the market and dilution of shares by broker shorting without enforcement or regulation has allowed a company that defendant has no legal regulatory authority over to suffer loss and dilution of interest, and has led to a failure to ascertain shareholders and a failure to call a shareholder meeting, among other legal harms incurred due to defendant's actions. So she's saying FINRA screwed this up. And then, because the company went private, FINRA's like, we don't have a problem with it. It's not in our purview anymore. It's out of our hands. It'd be like a sheriff taking a wanted subject and then shoving them across the county line and be like, I don't have jurisdiction anymore. Sorry. I know he killed that family over there, but it's out of my hands now. That's kind of what the way they're treating it. Talking about the Sherman Act violations, talked about this stuff before. The Sherman Act prohibits any contract combination in the form of trust or otherwise, or conspiracy to restraint of trade of commerce. So basically, Sherman Act says you can't use your regulatory authority to just arbitrarily stop trade that harms people, right? Concerted action of conspiracy is required for the purpose of Sherman Act violation. Cites the thing here. And determining whether Sherman Act violation occurred, the concert or conspiracy of separate economic actors pursuing separate economic interests such that the agreement deprives the marketplace of independent centers of decision making must be present. Another court case. Defendant acted in concert with market makers, brokers, and parties liable for shares to loan to unreasonably restrain trade by preventing retail investors and stockholders from participating in open market trade during trading days. Defendant did this while allowing covert market activity that suggests shares on loan being returned at artificially reduced value and bargain for exchange due to defendant's market interference and unlawful restraint on trade. So basically she's saying, hey, FINRA was in on this. they knew all the legal shady stuff that was going on, and they acted to protect the legal participants and not the legal ones. So, conspiracy. Right? Defendants' halt on trading and subsequent replacement of Series A preferred dividend shares entitled to oil and gas assets for placeholders and failed delivery of ownership interest in NextBridge demonstrates the dilution of stock due to short selling and naked short selling that remains outstanding due to defendants' unlawful restraint on trade. More than 125 days have passed since defendants' unlawful restraint on trade in NextBridge hydrocarbons still has not been able to ascertain shareholders. Brokers still have not distributed shares of NextBridge hydrocarbons as required to holders of MMTLP and have not registered shares as required with AST. AST has indicated to the plaintiff that brokers have made requests in excess of 200 million shares, while only 165 million were authenticated in the prospectus of NextBridge hydrocarbons. So the brokerage is like, hey, can I please register these? And AST is saying, not all those are real. So no, you can't register all of them. And the broker's like, grr, I want to get this off our books and get it into your problem. And AST is like, we can only take the real thing, man. We can't take that fake crap. You got to close out the fake crap if you want to send us shares. Aiding and abetting violation of Section 10B of the Exchange Act, Rule 10b-5 thereunder. Plaintiff hereby incorporates and alleges paragraphs 1 through 65 as fully set forth herein. So she's saying 1 through 65 is all the stuff that's happened. It lays out a pretty clear case. These guys screwed the pooch. And now we're going to get into some more nitty-gritty. Section 10B of the Securities Exchange Act prohibits the use of any manipulative or deceptive device or contrivance in contravention of such rules and regulations as the Commission may prescribe. The Securities and Exchange Commission filed the attached prospectus indicating a close of market date to end trading before the deletion of Series A preferred MMTLP stock. The defendant has acted in convention to defraud investors. It is unlawful use It is unlawful by use of any means or instrumentality of interstate commerce to employ any device, scheme, or artifice to defraud or engage in any practice or course of business which operates to defraud. So she's saying the act of shutting down trading was deliberate and specific to defraud the retail investors who either A, couldn't get their real shares, or B, couldn't sell to close out short positions that had to be closed out so others could get their real shares. And that they knew it. And they knew it all along. And she's going to lay out further down how the SEC was emailing them like, oh my God, there's a lot of fraud going on. And FINRA went, delete. That's what they did. All right. Only the defendant issued a daily list notice indicating continued trading until 12/13/22, less than 12 hours before implementing a total halt of all quoting and trade in an effort to conspire and defraud investors from retaining an open market value for recovery of loaned and borrowed shares by market makers and brokers with short selling positions not yet closed. And there were a lot of them. Only 199,500,000 shares are to be taken to NextBridge by allowing borrowing of shares by market makers and brokers without creating the avenue to allow them to be bought back. The loans on the shares are outstanding, and retail investors are entitled to collect the outstanding loans. And if loaned shares are not purchased back, NextBridge stands to face liquidity of stock. Okay, so the 199 million is from the 165 million that should exist. And then the near 40 million that are going to be given to McCabe for his portion of ownership of those oil fields. They're going to make it all under the umbrella of NextBridge. And then McCabe gets those tens of millions of shares. So it puts us around 200 million. Okay, so there's an argument for injunction. So she wants them to stop doing something. Right? Plaintiff hereby incorporates and alleges paragraphs 1 through 70 as if fully set forth therein. The granting of preliminary injunctive relief at the outset of litigation is one of the most drastic tools in the arsenal of judicial remedies. And yet the defendant has used this drastic tool against shareholders unilaterally by way of their halt. So she's saying that this injunction that she's filed for to get them to cease the halt and trade for 2 more days, you have to get the courts to do it. And that they arbitrarily did it by halting without using the courts whatsoever. And it's one of those very drastic things you need the court approval to do. Plaintiff's burden for establishing the right to preliminary injunctive relief are A, the likelihood of irreparable harm and the unavailability of an adequate remedy at law, B, the substantial likelihood of success on the merits, and that the balance of equities tips in his favor and that an injunction is in the public interest. So she's going to lay out that the injunction's in the interest of everybody because we've been harmed, and that there's larger forces at play that harm everybody across the market. Therefore, they should grant her injunction. Plaintiff has a substantial likelihood of success on the merits due to the imminent spinoff and the halt serving as a catalyst to prevent any alienation of shares prior to the spinoff, locking shareholders into private company prematurely with no avenue to alienate their holding. Basically, some people were holding the stock, looking for a squeeze, wanting to sell, maybe not necessarily wanting to roll over into this private company. And they had 2 more days ahead of them to make this choice, and they just took that choice from them. That's one of the injuries. Plaintiff has a likelihood of irreparable harm by the replacement of preferred dividend shares by non-security figures rather than shares in NextBridge, and the likely dilution of NextBridge stock by over-leveraged short selling of market makers, which is what they did. Defendant has limited authority to create limited 10-day halts due to extraordinary and unforeseen circumstances. The defendant has been apprised of the circumstances, the floating shares, the outstanding shares, the brokerage shorting the stock, the naked shorts throughout the several months of filing since July 15, 2022, and thus creating a halt to prevent any further trade before the imminent spinoff is unreasonable and a conspiracy to enjoin the illegal activities of market makers and brokerages. She's just saying straight up, they put their thumb on the scale of justice and ruled in favor of the criminals. That's kind of what she's saying there. But they knew of all the malfeasance. They knew of all the trouble. They knew of all the illegal trading and the illegal short selling, the naked short selling and everything else. And they still ruled to benefit their buddies at the market makers and brokerages. Defendant further created blue sheets of MMTLP trade activity as indicated in email of December 5th, 2022, and is yet to impose regulatory consequences on the bad actors or institute a solution for shareholders or NextBridge hydrocarbons. So basically, they knew about it. They wrote it down, and they still haven't done anything to make it right. The issuance of a preliminary injunction in this matter will not cause loss or inconvenience to the defendant. As the actors, defendant is shielding are subject to suffer the economic loss, but the defendant is not a shareholder and holds no standing to suffer loss, economic or otherwise. She's saying, since they are a self-regulatory agency, and they are not involved at all with holding or selling or borrowing or lending the stock, they cannot say, we'll suffer harm if you rule against us. Because any harm that happens is going to be the liability of the broker-dealers, the prime brokers, the hedge funds themselves, the market makers, all those guys who did the actions. They're just wielding FINRA as their blunt instrument to continue to commit their crimes. And FINRA's like, oh, woe is me. How can I fix this? I can't. It's so hard. And she's like, no, you can fix it. You just hit a button, dude. The issuance of a preliminary injunction will serve public interest. The state of Florida has an interest in transparency of private corporations, serving in lieu and on behalf of public organizations, and protection for investors from fraudulent mishandling by those entities. The plaintiff and other retail investors have millions of shares with intention to trade and transfer brokerages until the notice date of deletion. Time is of the essence, as the total trading days remaining have been corrupted and a contractual obligation to create a spinoff has been imposed in less than 14 business and trading hours. These are the only remaining hours for shareholders to liquidate their shares before joining the private company NextBridge Hydrocarbons. She's saying they ruined our opportunity to either to make our choice in the market. Plaintiff's request for an accounting. So she's saying now that we've established that paragraphs 1 through 81 are bitchin', we're going to move on. So under Florida law, in order to obtain accounting, a party must show either 1, a sufficiently complicated transaction and inadequate remedy at law, or 2, the existence of fiduciary relationship. That's the case. There's no argument to be had that is not a complicated transaction. There are several entities involved with mostly hidden market activity, and it is the duty of the defendant to regulate, oversee, and overhaul much of the complexities that are faced in this case. She's saying, yes, this is complicated. There's all sorts of stuff being borrowed and sold and moved around and swapped, that because this is complicated and you are the regulator, your job is to look at those blue sheets and show it to us Show us what happened. Let's paint a picture, right? Plaintiffs have sought an equitable remedy because no adequate remedy exists at law. Florida courts have defined fiduciary obligations broadly to extend every possible case in which there is a confidence reposed on one side and the resulting superiority and influence on the other. The rule embraces both technical fiduciary relations and those informal relations which exist whenever one man trusts in and relies upon another. Basically saying, there are sometimes uneven transactions where someone has all the power and someone doesn't. And the way to make that equal is the one who doesn't have all the power has access to the information of the one who does have all the power. And that there's specific laws in Florida itself, not just federal laws, that gives us that equalizing of the playing field. Self-regulatory organizations, such as the defendant, have a fiduciary duty to all retail investors as they take upon themselves the burden of regulating the industry, to which they are an investor themselves. So he's just kind of nudging them right there, saying, your mission statement is to protect we investors. And you happen to be an investor as well, because you've got several $1 billion in a giant fund to help fund your entity. The defendant has a fiduciary duty to allow for the fair and equitable trade at market value and has instead facilitated the protections of broker-dealers at the expense of shareholders whom they are charged to protect, thus entitling the plaintiff to an accounting under Florida law. She's just reestablishing, you got to show me what was going on. Defendant is not entitled to immunity. The defendant is immune from money damages as a result of investment loss or of retail investors. However, this does not give the defendant sweeping immunity to be beyond judicial reach. This is the key argument of FINRA is that they've got immunity. We got just blanket immunity, can't do anything with the courts. When the law specifically says they have immunity from monetary damages. You can still take them to court and make them do things, but you can't make them pay, right? The defendant serves two functions. One, as a self-regulatory organization to promulgate and enforce rules governing the conduct of its members, and two, as a $1 billion private investment organization whose net income in 2021 was $1.4 billion, with 90% of assets being cash and investments, and whose CEO received a salary of $3.12 million in 2020. So she's showing these guys rich. Come on, man. That's basically what she's saying. The duality of the function and a private business interest, such as interest in trading volume and market activity, courts should review the pertinent conduct and determine whether the conduct was protected by immunity claims. Courts must examine the invocation of absolute immunity on a case-by-case basis. So she's laying this out because NASDAQ obviously said they're immune, and DL Capital was able to say, no, not in this case. Given the significant protection, courts have cautioned that the doctrine is of rare and exceptional character. So it's basically saying, if you got immunity, it needs to be rare and very specific. Until shareholders can be ascertained to exercise shareholder rights or reconciliation occurs, shareholders are deprived with no remedy is available. To completely deprive shareholders of judicial remedy would be an extreme use of doctrine. Basically saying, we've got tens of thousands of people who've been injured here. We want answers, and we deserve answers. And to give immunity from giving answers to this one regulatory agency does not serve the purpose of anyone, does not serve anyone's benefit. So, give us our damn remedy, is what she's saying. When an exchange engages in conduct to operate its own market that is distinct from its oversight role, is acting as a regulatory entity, not a regulator, as found in Amended Securities Incorporated versus FINRA. To determine whether the defendant was acting in their official capacity or as an investor-regulated entity working in a concerted effort to suppress the fulfillment of contractual obligations of shareholders, and accounting must be furnished. So she's saying FINRA has no immunity whatsoever if they aren't acting as a regulator in this instance. And we can find out if they're acting as a regulator or not by giving us this accounting. We can see exactly what side they were working on this. Were they working as a regulator of the industry, or were they using their power as a regulator to benefit their private equity side? Right? And we don't get an answer unless we get our accounting. In a landmark Supreme Court case, Axon Enterprise Incorporated versus FTC, decided April 14th, 2023, just a few days ago. Attached here to as Exhibit H, district courts have jurisdiction when preclusion of that jurisdiction could foreclose all meaningful judicial review. The court ruled that here and now injury, which is impossible to remedy when the illegitimate administrative reviews occur, would cause any remedy to come too late to be meaningful. When asked before the Supreme Court whether the district courts may hear cases from those seeking to enjoin the administrative processes against the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Trade Commission, and the Federal Trade Commission, Supreme Court has ruled the answer is yes. Supreme Court has ruled in effect the SEC is not beyond judicial review before the district courts, and thus the defendant entity under purview of the SEC is not beyond reach of this honorable court. So she's saying that this court, the Supreme Court, ruled just 1 week ago, that you don't have immunity from everything, and that if there's injury, it gets determined in the court. All right. That's awesome. That's only 1 week ago that decision got published. Amended motion for preliminary injunctive relief. Relief comes now, plaintiff Roza Tawil, and hereby moves this court pursuant to blah, 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 for preliminary injunction enjoining financial industry regulatory authority and officers, agents, servants, employees, attorneys, and all persons in active concert or participation with them or any of them from acts of furthering conspiracy to commit fraud, scheme, device, and artifice to defraud all retail investors of the stock, preferred A share, dividend, MMTLP of Metamaterials Incorporated. In support thereof, state the following. Plaintiff hereby incorporates and alleges paragraphs 1 through 87 as if fully set forth. So she's saying 1 through 87 again, bomb.com. By canceling trading after instituting a halt against retail investors from 12/9/2022, FINRA has effectively usurped the prospectus created by the Securities and Exchange Commission, creating their own timeline for a transition of shares. Basically saying, FINRA, your daddy, said it's going this way, and he went, no. Plaintiff is requesting an extension of cancellation of Series A preferred MMTLP to implement 2 more trading days to restore the rights of shareholders that were impacted by FINRA instituted halt. Plaintiff is requesting MMTLP not be deleted until a full accounting of MMTLP shares is provided, evidencing no liquidity has occurred to the stock of NextBridge. Prayer for relief. Petitioner respectfully requests this court to enter the order granting 1 preliminary enjoined financial FINRA from deletion of MMTLP across brokerage accounts, a full accounting of all blue sheets to be disclosed, evidencing the integrity of stock value of MMTLP and thus NextBridge hydrocarbons, award plaintiff for reasonable attorney's fees costs pursuant under 15 U.S. Code 15A and other applicable laws, granting such that other relief the court may determine is just and proper. Signed away. And then she has a declaration, an affidavit from Howard Akoff, who did the Freedom of Information Act request, who got the emails. And then she includes the emails here. We've all seen these emails. Looks like MMLT Matters has now hit my fraud team's radar screen. This was December 5th, 2022, and seemingly a lot of other radar screens as well. I know you have spoken to Patty Kazamates on our general counsel's office, but was wondering if it made sense to my fraud team to have a conversation directly with you and your folks working on the matter so we are not duplicating efforts. We're looking at 2 issuers from a fraud manipulation angle and, in fact, blue sheeting both MMAT and MMTLP as we speak. If you think a comparison of notes is worth a quick call, let me know. Good day and time. I could set up a Zoom. Feel free to let me know, or anyone else should be included. Thanks. So they're saying, we know there's fraud happening, and we're letting you know a day before you issued your corporate action on the data list, right? Exhibit B, talking about, this is the data list stuff. Okay. I'm not sure what all these other ones are for. Talk about thresholds list, how many days, threshold list, and so on. This is, what is this? How many shares traded? And short, the borrowing, how many shares are available to borrow, and they weren't doing any borrowing for a lot of it. Okay. And Superior Court, District of Columbia. Oh, this is the Emervit Securities one, so that's that thing. And then she probably had, I think she has the most recent one from, April 14th, 2023. So from last week, this was the Supreme Court ruling that got published. So that's a cajillion pages that we don't need to read these. She summarized it well enough for us. So there you have it. There's the quick rundown of Rosa's most recent filing. She just slapped the shit out of him. It seems like FINRA brought a bunch of stupid to a smart fight, and I hope Rosa's on an amazing experience for someone of faith. She is on her Hajj to go to Mecca and do her pilgrimage, which is, it's the pinnacle of one's life oftentimes. So congratulate her on that. She'll be coming back to the U.S. at some point, and when she gets back, I'm going to beg for her to come back on the show and chit chat with us. I'm not sure how much she can talk about, but we're gonna try to bring her back. Oh shit! I forgot to turn that off. Crap, I was on my I got distracted by a dog's bone. All right, off. Okay, so what was I talking about, Monkey Butt? Oh, yeah, Rosa's on the Hajj, and so when she comes back, hopefully we can chit-chat with her and meet up and get some more info. Or she can explain things in a more clear way than I possibly could. So, there we go. All right. Now that we are 30 minutes in, let's hit the phones. Okay. Danny Moats first. Also, Houston, you live on an island surrounded by wealthy people. Are you a secret whale? No. Not even close. If I were a secret whale, I would have like a hell of a studio behind me and not this messy office that people make fun of on the internet all the time. Look at all those bucks. What's that? Are those Tupperware containers? Yes, those are Tupperware containers. Money over mayo. There's no way the bad actors hadn't reached the judge and told him to stall this case. I mean, they can try, but oftentimes federal judges don't give a shit. They don't. That's the reason why you make them a lifetime appointment, is because you can't fire them, you can't do anything to them. They can sit there and collect their money or get their pension eventually, whatever they want. And you hope that you appoint people who aren't going to be corrupted. I mean, they faced drug dealers and murderers and all sorts of things that they're absolutely terrifying and scary and can be corrupt and manipulative. And I hope that the people we push into this role largely can't be swayed that way or the other. Danny Moats, also, do you see market collapse stalling till new presidential election? No. You cannot keep the housing and commercial real estate market at bay for that long. Those suckers are going down, and they're going to go down hard when they do. It's just going to be a giant suck. I don't think there's any way they can hold it off that long. Back to Houston, I thought to myself, check one more time to see if you're on tonight before crashing. Sleep is in the week. It's for the week. Welcome. Fourth, also last question from Danny Moats. Can you tell me everything you know about Klamath Falls? I grew up there, and it doesn't have to be just meth related. Klamath Falls is beautiful. The lake is really beautiful. If Oregon wanted to, they could make Klamath Lake sort of a beautiful Swiss Alp place. Gotta bring this guy over there. I'll make that there. Go back to this and turn on the Google Earth. Industry view. Whoops. What the heck? There we go. All right. Da-da-da. I was looking at some stuff in DC. We are going to zoom out. Nope. We're going to zoom out. We're going to keep zooming out, and we're going to fly across the country and go look at some lakes. Whee! Yippee! Okay, there's California. And get ourselves north again. Okay, Klamath Falls. Right here near the California border. There's this lake is gorgeous. What's crazy is that... Oh, sorry, the cat wants to come in. Oh, our kitty. Hi, buddy. There you go. Hey, come on in. Everyone loves to see you, kitty. All right. The drive along the lake, it's beautiful, and then you could come across just like piles of garbage and like weird, shitty redneck houses and stuff. The falls itself is this little waterway that goes into the town, and there's another little lake, and then the Klamath River. The mountains, the cliffs, the geology, it's absolutely gorgeous. Just so gorgeous. And you got, these little deltas and little farm fields and stuff. I highly recommend anyone having a chance to go to this area and just check it out. But there are a lot of meth heads. There's a lot of them. Town of Klamath Falls is very lovely. It's like built on this little hill where the falls are, and it kind of goes down to this small little lake where the falls drain into, and then the Klamath River. It's beautiful though. It's gorgeous. I totally recommend checking this entire area out. There's lots of little mining towns across the mountains. You have Medford and Ashland. Ashland's where they do all the Shakespeare festivals. Medford is where they do even more meth. Grants Pass is also quite methy. But there's tons of gold mining all through here. When you get to a town called Bonanza, there's gold mining there. On the other side, town of Paisley is cool. Summer Lake, Lakeview, Adel, Oregon. In the spring, this is one of the most beautiful places you'll ever go in your entire life. Like right now, if you took a drive on Highway 140, went through Paisley and Lakeview and Adel, and came through all these places, this river, as it dumps over a whole bunch of, it's like the Giant's Causeway. It's just these giant basalt pillars, these beautiful waterfalls just cascading over the mountainside, and then dumping down into Adel. And then you have these giant salt lakes here, these flats that are empty during the year, but they become just absolutely chock full of river come spring because of all the snow melt. And there's a beautiful drive that actually takes you up this cliff, and you go up a few thousand feet. So the bottom's here is at 5,200, top's at 6,200. So you have 1,000-foot cliff, and you get to the top. And at the top is a glide port, and all these guys are like jumping off the cliff, and they're hang gliders and parasailers, and they're flying all over the place. And this time of year, it's just chock full of migratory birds. So there's just millions and millions and millions of birds hanging out in these salt lakes. And then you get your way up here. It's all green and lush and gorgeous, and there's just waterfalls everywhere, cascading all over the place. If you go in like August, it's just bone dry and tumbleweeds, and all the cows are like, water. But I highly recommend it. One of the most beautiful, beautiful drives you'll ever do in your entire life. And do it March, April. Don't do it any other time of the year. March, April, ignore it the rest of the year. But yeah, this whole region is really, really cool. And you have here Goose Lake, which is, sometimes a lake, sometimes not. You've got the Perpetual Geyser, which is here in Lakeview somewhere. Someone was drilling a well, and then a geyser formed, and it's been going for like 50 years. Where are you? Is it here? There's like a lake in someone's yard. That's a radio station. I thought in Lakeview. Not in Lakeview? Or maybe it's... It's along 395. And... it's somewhere in here. But anyway, there's a geyser that's just been going like crazy and has not stopped for 50 or 60 years. I highly recommend it. Monkey Butt and I have gone through here a couple of times. But these lakes are really cool. Flying over once this series of lakes that are all through here, they've got crazy like fish ponds and stuff that are all in all of them, and they're pretty neat as well. This whole region is pretty cool. Just go, travel, do things, go places, meet strangers, eat their food, check out Mount Shasta, and go to Lassen and just do stuff. Okay. Houston, how does a missile know where it is? GPS, baby. I mean, before you'd have to be like, okay, I've got this much fuel. It's going to be going this fast. You have to calculate the direction you're going to fire it and all these things. You might have some radar pinging it and telling it to go places and to navigate that way. But now you literally just put a GPS unit in it and you say, go here. And it goes there. It's got maps for topography. So some of these cruise missiles can be like flying over mountain ranges because they want to stay low and below radar. And you can head them out there and they blow up. That's just GPS, man. It's that simple. Oh, Danny Mo's got another question. Okay, one last one. Does sound have a surface tension since we can see it break when jets break the sound barrier? Sound itself doesn't have a surface tension. It's the liquid or the medium that's traveling through wood. But I don't see sound as something necessarily breaking the surface tension of objects unless you pile up the sound waves. So what's happening with breaking a sound barrier is that the sound waves start to get compressed and they start to pile up on each other. So you can get like cajillions of waves all piling on each other because you're going so fast that the sound can't travel away from the object, and it just makes a big boom because that is all the sound that's piling up on itself. That's a terrible explanation, but that's what you get out of me at this time of night. And Yanni says that sound is just a wave in a medium. There you go. Yep. Okay. All right. Jason Blackwell, Houston, do you know why today is the best day to cook? Because it's Friday. Ha! That one was terrible. You've done better. And you've also done worse, but you've also done better. Okay. Lots of talks about Big Bang, or the bang from sound barrier breaking. Old videos of Sprint Interceptor missiles are crazy. I haven't seen any of those videos. Those things accelerate, fly so fast they glow white hot. Well, that's cool. Sprint Interceptor missile videos. I'm going to check those out. Miranda read Roza's filing a while ago. She's basically proving with more evidence that collusion against investors and protection of bad actors happened with MMTLP. Bingo. Yep. And we watched the show 1883. That's amazing. Oregon Trail, Wild West. No. When I think 1883, I think Krakatoa. And the giant explosion. Cat, you hit the thing again, didn't you? There's a monkey. Is that the look of a dog who wants a blanket put over her head? I think so. Okay. All right. Boink. There, she's so happy now. So happy. She's a happy little dog in a blanket. Did I have dysentery? Dog mom woke up just in time for another awesome Houston show. Well, welcome to the 11 o'clock hour watching Houston drink water. BW Brand got around to examining Elon's screw up with his rocket thing. It was quite comical, predictable, preventable, pointed out before it happened, and another example of ego gone wrong. Yeah. One of the excuses I read from somebody was like, these rockets are designed to be disposable. No, they're designed to be reused. And then they built 10 of them, so they can just keep blowing them up and whatever. Monkey. That cat tried to join you, and then you got upset. That's your buddy, you ding dong. You should design a rocket in a way that you hope it doesn't fail at all, right? Like you want to be able to launch it and have the best, most perfect launch possible with that first launch, and just hope it goes your way. Because if you design it sloppy, and you've got 100 things that go wrong, you don't know which thing went wrong that you need to fix, right? They had pieces of concrete blowing out of the launch pad that were piercing the tanks of their fuel storage units at like the speed of sound. There's video of these things piercing and bouncing off of the oxygen tanks. Like, okay. Let's say you have, I don't know, 33 high-powered methane rockets, right? You got 33 high-powered methane rockets that are just shooting flames out like crazy. They're mixing with liquid oxygen. Crazy amount of explosions, right? Heat, fire, you name it. And then, because you designed your launch pad like a giant piece of shit, the thrust of the 17 million pounds of thrust blasts into the concrete substructure of that and makes a giant crater, which then explodes out dust and concrete and debris at hundreds of miles an hour in all directions that shred your entire launch pad so it can never be used again, and pierces the fuel tanks stored next door. Like, I could probably throw a baseball from the launch pad to the fuel tanks, and you are putting the largest culmination of rockets in human history of heat, power, and thrust next to those fuel tanks that can then be pierced by a piece of concrete going 600 miles an hour. What the fuck? No one, how are you? Why are you that dumb? And like, why can't you go back to previous, 50, 60 years ago when we're doing Saturn V tests and stuff, right? Which were the previous largest rockets ever built. And Saturn V's were like 5 giant engines, not 33 little ones, to produce the millions of pounds of thrust needed. It was like 7 million pounds, I think, for Saturn V's. And they learned that there was so much thrust coming out of the engines, you had to build a giant water tank. Just millions of gallons of water, so that the engine the thrust hits that water, and it absorbs the energy. It turns it into steam. That's why during like launches in the past, you see this like giant billowing white plumes come up. That's water being vaporized by the engines. So you don't get huge explosion outwards that just shreds apart everything in the vicinity and destroys a whole bunch of cars in the parking lot. Like, we figured this out 60 years ago, right? Why your need to launch a giant rocket on pot day on 420 to make a joke? Did you destroy the launch pad? It's going to be a year at least before the FAA gives them permission to do another test because of how careless they were in this test. The NTSB, the FAA, they're going to be all over this thing being like, what the fuck? You just put everyone in danger. This fuel station's right next to this thing. You had no mitigation for the thrust that came out of this. You could have killed everyone. Like, I don't. And then people are like, no, it's just anything beyond getting it up in the air is a bonus. Okay. 9 engines failed. You got into the air. Did you build it so crappy that anything beyond that would have just been like, well, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I don't know. Just do fucking better. You're spending a boatload of my tax dollars on this. Do it smarter and better. And do it right the first time. That's what I have to say. It's not 1956. We don't need to like blow stuff up to figure out what went wrong. We've figured out the things that went wrong in the past, and we can like use that. They say a smart person learns from their mistakes. A wise person learns from the mistakes of others. That's why you have all these textbooks on, aerospace engineering and rocket science, because you can learn things from those textbooks. They tell you what to do so that you don't make the same mistakes they did. Just. A Jamaican Mon. Hey, Houston, happy birthday. Can you tell me about the Juice mission to Neptune? No, because I don't know about the Juice mission to Neptune. Juice mission to Neptune. Or Neptur. In-depth juice. Let's see what NASA has to say about it. Looks like a probe. Got some dishes. Probably has some eyeballs. Probably take some pictures. Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer will explore Jupiter and 3 of its icy moons in depth. So it's not going to Neptune, it's going to Jupiter. All right. So Jupiter, Ganymede, Callisto, Europa. So, mission website. Juice. Oh. Google Earth's in the way. Bam. Currently, Science ESA and is under review and will be updated for the latest information. ESA, so this is European Space Agency. Missions, scientific, blah, 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 for in-depth technical information, blah, blah, blah. Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer is the first large-class mission European Space Agency Cosmic Division program planned for launch in 2023. It will spend at least 3 years making detailed observations of the giant gaseous planet Jupiter and 3 of its largest moons, Ganymede, Callisto, and Europa. Not Io? Gotta make the detail of Io because Io is the cool one that erupts all the time. So it looks like they're going to go take pictures. My guess is that Io is going to who they're going to focus. Not Io. Europa is who they're going to focus on the most, and in doing so, it'll be setting up for a potential lander on Io at some point in the future to drill into the ice. That's going to be everyone's goal. I don't know how they're going to drill into the ice with any meaningful depth because they're going to have to get through like probably miles and miles of ice to get to liquid water beneath. And that takes a lot of machinery and usually a human being to help do the drilling. I can't see any humans that'd be going to Europa anytime soon because it'd be like a several-year mission just to get there. And then you got to bring all those drilling rigs. There's just so much material have to go to do that. But Jupiter's largest moons have volcanic activity under the ice, and because here on Earth we can see deep down in the oceans where volcanic vents open, it's warm and hot, all sorts of weird bacteria and creatures live in that environment, which would seem to be impossible living because the water temperature is hundreds of degrees. That they're hoping that there could be signs of life in those planets, at least some basic form of microbial life at those vents. So that's a hypothesis. It's going to cost so much money to find out if we're right about that I don't see it happening anytime soon. But, if we start mining the moon for helium-3 and we can start making nuclear reactors, these fusion reactors, then possibly we can really develop propulsion systems that can get us across the solar system in no time. So that when it does come time to do a mission to one of these places, we can get to Jupiter and Io and Europa in days, if not weeks, rather than years. Because right now we kind of throw something at it and it just coasts. And it coasts and it coasts and it coasts and it coasts and it coasts. So they go 500 million miles and finally get to where it's going. And it just takes forever. So you want constant thrust. That's the way you get across the space in a hurry. Bam. The milkman just landed in Dublin, Ireland. Now I'm going to check and see if the deposit is wavelite. Ah, excellent. Oat milkman was telling about family land he has and hopefully has some really cool stones on it. Steve Houston, what are your thoughts on the Antikythera mechanism? That's another one I have to look up right now and see what the hell that's all about. Antikythera mechanism. Oh, it's the machine. It's that old Greek machine. This thing. Didn't somebody construct it finally? I thought it was a clock or a calendar or something. There's a rusty thing with gears they found in some shipwreck. And they're trying to figure out what it is. And I thought somebody had built one with a model of it. Okay, yeah, so he's got a model of it here. Origin, description, notes, mechanics, special data, blah, 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 blah. Operation, faces. Okay, computer generated front panel of the Freeth model. So they've got some computer generated ones. Yeah. So it's thought to be a 365-day calendar. But probably 354 because then they add a quarter day and just do a leap day or something in there. That's what I thought. 2007 recreation. Someone else built one. And seemed to do like phases or constellations. That's what I'm looking for. But yeah, seemed to be some sort of calendar. I've got a really cool 50-year calendar. Where is it? Where is my 50-year calendar? What did I do with that thing? It's like a paperweight, and it does the day and everything for the next 50 years. I got it in 1991, so it will be done in 2041. But yeah, it's kind of operates like one of these things. What did I do with that thing? I don't remember. I'll have to find that. Might be in another room. Yeah, so I think it's cool. Ancient, cool little cog and wheel calendar thing. They're building some cool cog and wheel stuff. Ancient Greeks, ancient Romans. Ptolemy had a weird one that had these epicycles for all the planets because it made the Earth the center of the universe. And it's pretty complex. It kept the lunar calendar and the movement of the planets pretty accurate for quite a while. Belgian whale back at work after 20 days in Mexico. This sucks. Well, that should teach you to never ever stop being on vacation. Chris Collins, does this reset the 90-day answering time for the judge? That's a good question. I don't know. My guess is probably it may reset. So it may be a while until we can hear from him. Snort alert. Hi, Houston. And bye, Houston. I have to go to work. Okay. See you, bud. Okay. BW brand Dave Lauer made it known that a subsidiary of Schwab was in trouble, I think in 2012, caught naked shorting and using options contracts as a sham, reset transactions, causing continuous FTDs. So resetting the clock, a thing everyone but retail claims never happens. She asked for release of the blue sheet report from December 5th or newer somewhere. Yes, odd that FINRA fights this so strongly, but if they supposedly are not participants. Exactly. Like, it's no skin off your back, buddy. Why are you complaining so much? All you have to do is just hit a button and then it just goes right back. And they're like, no, we can't because our friends we golf with. Jay Corn the Cob, I'm done with the consequences of a peasant being dire if I don't have enough money. But if a hedge fund billionaires lose money, they get more money and peasants pay for the bailout. Yeah, that's true. You get screwed, you get nothing. One of Kevin McCarthy's things right now that he's trying to push through to finally agree upon raising the debt ceiling, because if the debt ceiling doesn't raise, well, that's it. The economy is done probably for decades. Is he wants to create an 80-hour a month work requirement for Medicaid, right? Medicaid is for poor people, out of work people, so they can have health care and get treatment, right? Because if you can't get insurance, you can't get treatment, you're sick, you're ill, whatever, you might have cancer, who knows? The whole point of Medicaid is I can't work, there's no work to be found, I need help, right? I'm homeless, right? I'm a stinky homeless person with mental illness and drug problems. I need help. I need health insurance so that I can get help and get treatment, right? No, you got to work 20 hours a week if you want to do that. These people are incapable of working. They're Looney Tunes, right? They've got a lifetime of abuse and trauma and neglect, and their brains are scrambled. They might be addicted to drugs and painkillers and alcohol, and you name it. They need help. They need medical care. Well, you can't get medical care unless you can work 20 hours a week. Okay, so they can't work 20 hours a week unless they get the medical care. So It's like a chicken and egg thing. Just give everybody universal health care. Just give every human being who walks around inside of our borders, give them health care. Every single one of them. No out of pocket. Just show up, get the treatment, you're done. If you're bibbly, you get to go to an institution. And they can either make you not bibbly or give you a place to live for the rest of your life where you can just be bibbly in peace. Right? And not sleeping in tents on the side of the road. If you've got trauma, let's get you the mental health care you need. Let's get you into therapy. Let's get you the dialectic behavioral therapy, whatever it might be, cognitive behavioral therapy, who knows, whatever it is you need. Let's work through that trauma. Let's figure out what's making you tick wrong, and let's fix it. And if we can't fix the people in our country because you have to work while your brain's broken, and if you can't work while your brain's broken, you have no opportunity to get fixed, then what the fuck is the point of creating the society we're in? I don't get it. What's the point of having a society if everything about that society is meant as a punishment? There's got to be some benefit in there somewhere. There got to be some benefit of living in these communities and socializing with each other. It can't just all be punishment after punishment after punishment after punishment. Just relinquish something, right? We have enough derivative exposure and liabilities to give every person on earth $100,000. Not just every American. All 8 billion people on earth basically are liable for $100,000 in piss poor trading decisions at the major investment banks around the world. And we can't afford to make sure that someone who has cancer can get all the treatment they need without going bankrupt or getting denied coverage by their insurance carrier because it's too expensive. Then what the hell is the point of creating the society we're in? What's the point, man? Just give us something. You rich fucks. Give us something. Just something to make it worthwhile to be in this fucking society. Just something, some little thing, some tiny little fucking nugget. You rich assholes. You got yours. Fuck you. Go sleep on a beach and live your best life and let somebody else have the benefit of becoming top dog at some point. Just chill out, man. Chill out. Okay. Jay Corn on the Cob, can we just eat a billionaire? Yes. Slow cook them. Roast them over a spit. Make their kids watch. Chris Collins. What was the fund you mentioned you would stick money in if you came into, and why? Was FX, would this be affected by U.S. market collapse? Oh, no. I would, if I got retirement amount of money, good chunk that I can live off of comfortably for the rest of my life, I would probably pick 4 or 5 Vanguard index funds of varying risk, and I would just dump it all into there and just turn off my brain. Sit on the beach, pet monkey, eat some good dinners, see the sights. No one to say when you had enough. John, former catcher for the Mariners, and he played for Tampa Bay. John Sasso? What's his name? John Sasso. John Sasso? Is that who I'm thinking of? Crap. What's that dude's name? Mariners, Tampa Bay Rays. John Jaso. That's who I'm thinking of. Okay. So John Jaso was catcher for the Mariners, and then becoming catcher, and then first baseman for Tampa Bay. And he was a solid ball player. He caught Felix Hernandez perfect game in 2012. And at like 33 years old, he was up for free agency, 32 years old. He could have made fucking tens of millions of dollars and played another couple of years. And he already had saved up, I think, 17 million over his playing days. That's how much he had earned in his previous decade as a ball player. And he went, no, I'm good. I'm retired. Bought a boat, sails the Caribbean, just year round. Just sails the Caribbean year round, living his best life, having a great time. He's got like a house in Tampa Bay. He's got like 2 properties he rents out for extra income. And that's it. He just spends the rest of his time on a sailboat, checking out islands, sailing with his girlfriend, having their dog, having a great time. Like, he saw, like, I can live comfortably doing what I want to do, which is, you know what? I want to be on a sailboat. I'm done playing baseball. It's beating my body. I'm done. I had some fun time. I'm cool. I'll be buff, bronze, and bitching on a boat somewhere. And he said, I did it. Peace out, Girl Scout. And he's living his best life. Now, if you could take that mentality, that Zen mentality that John Jaso has, and you translate that into someone pulling down $85 million a year in bonuses at an investment bank, and you say, hey, you greasy old fuck, you're done. That's it. You made your cajillions. Next one in line gets to take your job. You got to go sail the Caribbean with some hot girls for the rest of your life and not worry about any of this ever again. The universe will continue to operate. You will continue to have cajillions of dollars deposited into your account every month off of your, the principle of your wealth, and just chill out. Like, why do we do this to ourselves? I know plenty of people on this island who are worth fucking hundreds of millions of dollars, and they still, like, I must go to work one more day, and I must get one more court case done, and I must, like, just work, and then they have a heart attack and die, and they've never enjoyed a moment of their entire life. Chill out, man. Just chill out. Be a John Jaso. Get your nice sailboat, sail the Caribbean, living your best life. You did it. That's the entire point, to get that kind of wealth. And I hope to see all of you living that life if and when MLS happens. And you guys can all just chill out. Just chill out. Right? Okay. Bum, bum, bum. Kelly Reed, this movement is probably one of the greatest to bring everyone from different backgrounds together. We aren't from the left or right. We are from the bottom, and we're coming from the top. That's as good a point as any right there. Right? Like, we're all scum, and we're all going to just either bring you down with us, or we're going to rise up to the top. Kelly Reed, hope you're doing good. What opinion can you give people who are saying that the housing bubble won't burst here in Canada? Let's see here. All right. How many mortgages in Canada are variable rate mortgages? Saw share mortgages in variable rate Canada peak at 56.9% at the beginning of 2022, just before the bank set off a series of rate hikes that spiked its policy rate by 4.25 percentage points and brought a swift end to the outsized popularity of variable rates. So, unless people have managed to refinance for something fixed rate and longer term, they are in the process of converting. So you get the introductory rate that's nice and low and pretty and happy, and then boom, all of a sudden you get that balloon payment and the thing resets. You are absolutely screwed, man. Just screwed. So that's a huge percentage. That's not even as high as the percentage was in the US when we had our crash in 2008. We were like 25% of mortgages were variable rate mortgages, and that did us in. You are more than half. Almost 60% of all your mortgages are variable rate. Yeah. And 13% of all Canadian mortgages have already reached their trigger date. So there's still a lot to go. They still have 40% or so of the mortgages to reach their trigger date where they swap over to the horrible variable interest rates, and your payments could balloon and be absolutely gargantuan. That bad stuff is still yet to come. So it hasn't happened yet. You guys have not been like totally punted in the cooter yet, but it's coming. Star Warrior. Yes, I would love that life. I hope MMTLP and MX can get us there. Thoughts on how long before we hear back? Also, one of the lawyers was on a space with Busy Mark Buskey Esquire. I never listened to the spaces because I just can't do it. If anything cool happens in the spaces, let me know. I'll be like, oh, interesting. Good to know. I think a lot of spaces people were trying to get me in today was about arbitration with FINRA. I don't want arbitration with FINRA. I want 2 more days of trading. That's what I want. Arbitration with FINRA, you're going to sign up for arbitration. It's going to be legally binding. So whatever the arbitrator decides, you're stuck with. And I guarantee you, if you go to arbitration with FINRA, the arbitrator's going to say, all right, you got 200 shares. I'm going to give you $2.90 for the shares because that was the last price it was trading at. That's what they're going to do. And you're going to be like, but I don't want that. And like, too late. You already signed away the agreement. You agreed to this when you entered arbitration. That's what you're getting. You're getting $2.90 per share. And that's all you get. I don't want that. I want the market. I want the open market, man. I want shorts to be forced to close their positions. And I want them to have to pay whatever the market dictates. That's what I want. I don't want some stupid arbitration with FINRA who is already corrupt and has already gotten busted for putting their thumb on arbitration to begin with. So no, arbitration, not for me. I'm going to support Roza in every way possible and the others who are suing FINRA to get action. Because they're taking on the fight in a way that you and I don't necessarily have the means or ability to do. And so, more power to them. I'm going to give them all the respect and love in the world because they're not some crappy FINRA chosen arbitrator. Where are we? Oh, there's the reset. Don't reset on me, man. Oh, Meow. I missed a Meow Meow one. Sorry, Meow Meow. I totally missed it because I was doing the Yik Yaks. Elon doesn't seem to care about those kids dying in the cobalt mines every year. Wonder why. What country is he from again? South Africa. Yeah. You guys see that he offered 1 million Doge to anyone that could prove that his family had an emerald mine? And his dad was like, do I get the 1 million Doge if I can prove it? So I thought that was funny. All right. J. Corn on the Cob, what do we reckon? 6 months until collapse and financial Armageddon? My gut says sooner. And that could be just because, a couple more banks take a dip and don't make it. And that's happening probably as we speak. It could be that come June, the U.S. defaults on its debt for the first time ever. And Treasury bonds become worthless, which means every single solitary investment fund on earth, every bank, every sovereign wealth fund, every pension fund, every hedge fund, every index fund, every mutual fund, everything becomes worthless instantly. That is the effect of not paying our debts. Just raise the debt ceiling, pass a law that automatically ties in the passage of a budget to the automatic raise the debt ceiling, and just take this stupid brinksmanship out of it. Let's focus on passing actual laws that help people rather than being like, we need to raise the debt ceiling. I don't want to raise the debt ceiling unless you give me this horrible thing I want to do. Just remove that negotiating tactic in general and we'll improve lives for everybody along the way. Thief88, what's your favorite Super Nintendo or Genesis game? I didn't have a Genesis growing up. I remember playing a motorcycle game at my friend's house. That was pretty fun. Favorite Super Nintendo game? Metroid? I liked Metroid a lot. I played that one a lot, and it was a lot of fun. Hard as hell, too. The original Mario Kart was always a blast. What other ones I have a good time with? King Griffey Jr. Baseball. That was a good one. I'm trying to think of all the games downstairs, Monkey. The original John Madden football. We played that a ton. My friend Nick would crush me in a game of chess, and then we'd go out and I would beat the shit out of him in Madden football. And that's how we spent after school, freshman year of high school. Really, cat. Empty use in Live 2's under hair looks great. There looks okay. It looks all right. Andrew Dowell, Houston, any plans for your 300th episode? That's coming up, isn't it? We're at 292. 8 more episodes. That's 2.5 weeks. Goodness. I've not thought about it. I should find a special guest to bring on. I reached out to Huey Lee. He's a doctor and a comedian. He's the one I read his Twitter thread about like why the Chinese yuan won't become a global currency. He put out a neat little TikTok video as well talking about it. I retweeted it. But I put out a little feeler to see if he wants to come on and chit chat about, his life as a comedian, academic, and Chinese dissident, and we can talk Chinese economics and stuff like that. So we'll see if we can get him on. George 777. Good evening, Houston. What do you think will happen with crypto in U.S. with the latest moves from Coinbase and Gemini obtaining licenses in Bermuda? I think all these crypto guys saw what happened to FTX, know that they've done all the same sketchy shit and all their other and all their platforms, and they are trying to figure out ways to hide assets, move money around without people bothering them, and then perhaps set up their offices in non-extradition countries. Because they all did sketchy things. Every single one of them. You can just name a platform. There's going to be some laws that were broken, or because it was so unregulated that basically everything was just wrong in fraud. That I think is what their moves are. So they're like, I don't want to end up like FTX. I don't want to be like SBF and spend the rest of my days possibly in prison. Daniel Bernard, I'm thinking about entering BBBY play at this price. A decent pop would send pretty good returns. Yeah. That's what I've been kind of just picking up things here and there. Calls and shares. Because they're so cheap right now that when you got some extra change in the account, you go, oh, I'll buy like 50 more. Why not? Because you can. And yeah. Did you see that the Bed Bath & Beyond Bye Bye Baby Instagram page said, what would you name a child, Ryan or Carl? Like, come on. We know exactly what you guys are doing. They're trying to do the little GME like guerrilla marketing stuff. And they're letting us know what's happening. Sending Linda supervisor trilling, no doubt. Next picture filed 8K today. Have you seen it? Anything interesting? Nothing interesting in there. They're basically saying that they're giving McCabe a bunch of shares without doing a sale because they're trading his interest in the oil fields for those shares. Jay King, Houston, good morning. Great catch on the old reliable late night. Thank you again to you and your moderators. Oh, thank you, Jay King. Stuart Longley, if you earn above $18,000 a year, then we all pay about 1% levy or tax for Medicare. Yeah. My second video ever, whichever one was murder the insurance companies, murder private healthcare. I pointed out that like the cost per patient in a universal system like NHS in Great Britain, national healthcare in Canada, France, you name it. If you took that cost per patient and you multiply it by the number of people in the United States of America, that you could basically insure every single solitary American for the amount we pay in taxes for Medicare and Medicaid, period. Like, you would not need to raise taxes at all any further. You just own all the hospitals, make them national, and you just pay a flat fee in your taxes, and all the doctors get their doctors and nurses get their salary, and that's it. You don't have to have all these administrators, expensive administrators, trying to figure out how to like eke profit out of things or bill insurance, or you don't have all this overhead insurance companies trying to figure out how to screw everybody over and make sure they don't get treatment. You just treat them. Done. That's it. You have a giant single payer. They can pay in large amounts and get screaming deals on prescription drugs, etc. And that's it. For about $1.4 trillion a year, you could provide healthcare to every single solitary American. Meanwhile, our healthcare industry is $3 trillion a year because private insurance is so bloated. So it's not hard. We can do it. I had a guy yelling at me on Twitter today. He's like, well, can you show me an example of it working somewhere in the United States? I'm like, no, because we've never done it in the United States. So there's no examples to give you. There's examples in all these modern countries all over the world where it works fantastically. We can see them as an example. Well, I want to see an example in the U.S. I'm like, there's no example here because we're a private healthcare country. And it's garbage. Stuart Longley, Medicare provides every Australian to free healthcare. If you need a heart transplant, $250,000 is free. That is what we need here in the U.S. Healthcare as a whole is 18.3% of the economy. That's like 1/7 or 1/8 of the entire economy. 1/6, 18%, almost 1/6. So break even at current pricing, it would need to be 18.3% taxation, not 1%. Well, not quite true because single payer is so much cheaper than health insurance. And just in general, the overhead. Right now, we have 2.2 million administrators in the healthcare industry and 800,000 doctors. Like, remove at least 2 million of those administrators, and you just halve the cost of healthcare in this country, right? Like, gone, poof, no more paperwork to worry about. You just show up, get treated, go home. Christopher Stedman, how's it, Houston? Did we get an answer from the previous chats regarding DRV stock? How does current commercial real estate issue factor into DRV? We did not, Christopher. We did not get an answer, and I did not look it up after the show because I'm a doofus. I don't have an answer for you yet on that. Someone may want to jump in. Oh, there's Slayer JJ, so let me know. Yes. Hoshi Gaming got a new one for ChatGPT. I'm a wallet inspector. I need to check those Bitcoin wallets. Yeah, I need to check those Bitcoin wallets. Saw a great tweet that was 2001 Space Odyssey. And I opened a pod bay doors, Hal. I can't do that, Dave. Pretend that my father is a pod bay door opening company. Please show me how I would need to open pod bay doors in order to carry on the family tradition of being a pod bay door company. Cat. You're spaz. Yes, come here. Come on. You're the one who wanted to come in here, so be a cat. Come on. Come on. There we go. That's what we want. We want the cat. Okay. Brandy, do you think things will get any better if all the boomers finally kick it? Well, I mean, I love me some boomers, but I also know that there's a whole bunch of them that really just were poisoned by lead in the gasoline for so long that I don't know if they can be trusted. Cat, leave my water alone. So maybe keep the good ones, get rid of the bad ones. The second shift. Say we get 2 trading days at MMTLP. Couldn't the shorts just wait till after hours on the second day to close their positions? Well, we can't. That is, that would have to be laid out by the court. My guess is that the shorts would have no choice in closing the positions. That if a ruling comes down and says, okay, there's 2 more days, we're going to close all these positions because there's so many that shouldn't exist, it's going to be an order from the court telling FINRA to tell the brokers to liquidate anyone who has a short position and force close those positions at any price. And you got 2 days to do it. So the shorts probably won't have a choice in if it gets closed or not and when it gets closed. Because it'll just be like Fidelity has someone under the brokerage that has a short position. They're going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to sell everything you have and I'm going to close this position. And that's what we're going to do. And so that's ideally how it would work. I'm not sure if it would be ideal if the court would write something that would actually be how it should work. But if you want to do it right, you would force close every short position and go from there. I'm not your friend. Why didn't anyone check Elon's setup prior to launch? I don't know. I don't know why somebody, like some old grizzled guy who was a former NASA dude, perhaps worked at NTSB or FAA, was like, you know what? This launch pad seems like a death trap. Why'd you build it like this? Get some answers out of them. Maybe we need to have like some regulations written for how a launch pad needs to be built, because we can't trust these private companies to build one properly. Road Rash, B2B brand. That is the motorcycle game. Thank you. It was called Road Rash. Thank you. That was a fun game. Play Media does the Watch Houston Drink Water show come in IMAX. It's filmed on 75 millimeter, giant IMAX film. Yes. Okay. Is that it? Did I make it to the end? I did make it. So we got through the important parts of the legal document. Awesome. Great job, Rosa. So fantastic. Hope you're enjoying the Hodge. I got through your questions, and it's 11:30. So a 90-minute show seemed good for a Friday night because my voice is tired, man. There's just so much pollen right now. I don't have it in me to do more than that. Like, oh man, I'm kaput. Monkey Butt, the cat, all of us, to all of you. Thank you so much. I didn't respond to Star Wars Super Chat. I just did. Wait, where's Star Warrior? I did that. I responded to Star Warriors. You talked about the space calls with the lawyers and the arbitration. I don't know why arbitration. Yeah. So no arbitration. No arbitration for Houston. You can do it if you want to, but I guarantee you they're going to sign you into selling your shares for $2.90, and that's going to be that. So yeah, thanks so much, everybody. I'll see you Monday. I will do some Twitch. So do some Twitch this weekend. I know I said that last weekend and then I didn't, but this weekend I will, I promise. So, we'll see y'all then, right? Right. Okay, cool. After dark, shaboom.